gentlemen, to the qualifying here for Indianapolis. It is the next round, round 10 of the championship. It is going to be an absolute belter. Mirko Ricci and Dennis have a qualifying ban, so they should be two of the drivers to stay in the pit lane. Apologies for the disruption in the stream. I pressed the wrong button in changing the screen, so that is all on me. I do apologise about that one. But Dan, a cracking first race to the evening, and I believe we do. Kieran Argent is in with us, so 23 cars out there, and it's a wet quali.
It is a wet quali, and it looks like the rain is going to ease off later on as well, but how much does it ease off? That's the question. Some guys might be waiting in the pits just to see if this rain will ease off ever so slightly, but otherwise I'll just get some lap times on the board. It is Gomez who's the first one back out on track, and we'll see if this rain linger around for the race, but at the minute this is what we've got for qualifying, and once again it was the BSP boys that looked very strong. We'll see if they can continue that pace here in the wet conditions.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one into this race. Tim Venting Corsa with the fastest lap of that race. In championship order, looks like it's Dizzle 3.5 points clear of Max Mulder now. Richie Michel's up to third place with John Gooday dropping down to fourth. Esteban Burrebex is fifth place with Tim Venting up to sixth. Sam is seventh from Justin Winter in eighth. Brian Craig is ninth from Robert Smith down in 10th. Bruno Diaz up to 11th with Paul Williams in P12. Mirko Ricci 13th. Dennis Hansen is P14. Mirko Ricci is 30th. Just having a look. Mirko Ricci still in the pits. Dennis Hansen still in the pits. That is what we want to see. It's Naval Gomez, the first driver out there. Then it is Naval Gomez, P15. Fat Blokes down 16th. Cranky Duckhead 17th. Diego Flores, P18. Kieran Argent now down to 19th place with Dean in 20th. Graham 21st. Darren Bell, P22. Mark Tucker 23rd from DJ Phil Green 24th. That is half a point separating them two. Micro J's down to 25th with John Andrews 26th. Michael 27th from Andrew Taylor. Dean Wasocki, the Jackal, Senna, Beelund, Nuke Waste, P. Raiden, Oliver, MB Pitts and Romeo yet to score. Teams Championship then, it is BSP Racing who lead the way now by 50.5 points because Justin Winter scores none and John Gooday had a shocker in that race. Richie Corsa are only 15 points behind the Greasy Bandits boys. Stage 2 Motorsport P4 with Team FBR P5. Team Merlo P6 from FSO Junior. Forever Forward Racing Independent stay ahead of Greasy Bandits Junior and Volta Racing in that one as well. And there are three cars that come in the manufacturers, but we've kind of given up on that because, well, it was always going to be McLaren.
It'll always be McLaren because McLaren is the best all-rounder. And yeah, I do a little bit of research into ACC, and since the 1.9 update, the McLaren is probably the car to choose at the minute. It's the best car, all-rounder, and yeah, and most streamers and YouTubers that I've seen and done reviews on most cars say that it's a little bit twitchy, but it is probably the fastest car on ACC at this stage.
And as we can see then, we have got Naval Gomez, who's coming to the end of his qualifying run at the moment, so it's going to be an interesting one to see what he can do. He's got Dizzle just behind him out there on the circuit. No, he hasn't. He's got Max Mulder, so he goes and puts in the fastest time. Max Mulder is then going to come to the line, and he will then set a new fastest lap. Dizzle, no time on the board. It is then the 68. That is Assetto Burrebex, who's going to be next on a lap time before the number 18 car of Diego Flores. Burrebex, in fact, no, where is Diego Flores? There he is. He is the next one on this flying lap. Comes to the line, goes P4 at the moment, and we're going to drop down to the number 180 car of Paul Williams as he comes to the line.
He does indeed, and Paul Williams comes to the line now, runs a little bit wide, but nonetheless, it's going to get a lap time on the board, and it's going to put him in 8th place position. Meanwhile, Tim Venting's just in the background, and he goes fastest of them all. We did see in these the wet conditions, they managed to get into the 41s. John Gooday now next to come to the line. Where does John place himself? He goes not a lap time yet.
It's Bruno Diaz who then goes, where's he gone? Gone up to P3. Heck of a lap time there, and that's the 75 that's next. That is Dizzle now on a flyer.
with his championship rival right behind him, and it's starting to get to the point, Matt, that it's pretty much down to these two for the championship. Even at the halfway stage, these two look like the two to beat at most circuits.
Yeah, and they look the two to beat, but you know, John Gooday is only Richie Michel's 22 points behind. John Gooday's 44. Obviously, it's still provisional before drop scores. Tim Venting's bringing himself into this battle though as well, Dan.
Yeah, but it's all about the drop scores at the end of the day. I still, Matt, you obviously know my opinion on drop scores. I think they only make sense towards the end of the season. Dizzle does not put a lap time on the board, and Max Mulder improves ever so slightly. Meanwhile, S2M Burbeck's in the background. Where is he going to be placed? I can't even see him.
No, I think it's Brian Craig. DJ Phil's just got in his way towards the end of the laps. It's Brian Craig, Justin Winter. So Brian Craig doesn't improve. Justin Winter doesn't improve. Richie doesn't improve. Mark Tucker's coming to the line. He didn't improve. P. Williams is coming to the line. He improves to P9. Tim Venting increases his gap at the top of the standings as well. So he's improved to 0.8 of a second better off. Car 57's just got a yellow flag. So now we turn our attention again to Dizzle and Max Mulder. And Max is really having a scrap with Dizzle on the back straight.
They are indeed, and all they're going to do is just hold each other up to allow other cars to work their way up the order ever so slightly. But they obviously want a lead position. Max has actually stopped, and I think he's going back to the pits. Yes, he has. Bruno, meanwhile, is quietly minding his own business, and we looked a little bit into the BOP system for this circuit, and at this circuit, the Lamborghini actually puts quite a bit of weight on. So the Lamborghini, quite a strong car around Indianapolis, and Bruno to the line now does not improve and stays P3 at this stage.
Yeah, it is Dizzle who is the next man on a lap. Not sure where Max Mulder has gone. Returned to the pit lane, so he's coming back out now. Is Max Mulder on his way out as Dizzle's going to come round, and hopefully, I've just dropped the TV remote, Dizzle is hopefully going to set a lap time, and only 8th fastest, Dan. It's not a great lap from Dizzle.
Yeah, looks like the BMW is struggling in these wet conditions. I know the BMW isn't great right here. Gomez goes to P4. So the Mustang stretching its legs. Senna is now coming forward to the end of the lap, but there's a lot of more cars coming to the final run, and I'm trying to find any of them. And
it's DJ Phil who goes 13th. Richie Michel's in there as well. He stays 8th. That is Brian Craig who stays 7th. Then that looks like it is going to be, not sure that is, Jacques goes into P9. In the background, that is Hypertech coming towards the line. 4.5 seconds off the pole. What can he do? Improves, puts himself within 3/10. Good lap from Hypertech.
Indeed it is. Aston Martin pretty much good in most conditions, and gets himself up into P2. Max Mulder got to find a little bit more time to get himself ahead of him. Dizzle, meanwhile, has been the shock for me, just not being able to gel in these wet conditions or this circuit.
Yeah, not able to do so. Darren Bell goes up into P16. Next car on a fast lap is that of Bruno Diaz. Just Dean Cranky Duck headed Kieran Argent to get a lap time in. And Dan, the track is damp, so you know better than anybody, these wet tyres in this damp conditions is going to make the track absolutely horrid. Your tyres are going to start to overheat after a while on the wets, and it's not dry enough for the slick tyres online anyway. And as the rain is still decreasing, you just wonder who is going to do what. Bruno Diaz puts a lap time good enough for 4th place. Car 113, that is Naval Gomez. Ford Mustang looking pretty good over one lap here.
It is indeed, but can he keep that consistency? Obviously the wet weather probably helping it out as well because of the corners, but yeah, Tim Venting fastest at the minute from John Goudet, from Max Mulder, from Gomez, from Bruno. So that's your top 5 at the minute. Who is next on a lap?
Richie
Michel, 93, coming to the line. And yeah, it's getting damp. And the other problem is the track temperature is at 32 degrees. So although it's wet, although the track is cooling the tyres at some point, but they are starting to dry out. Richie Michel's got damage to the front end of his car by the looks of things. And
he's just improved up to P6. Senna's now on the lap. But Dan, the other thing as well to note is, with these track conditions like this, it is going to get better and better as the qualifying session goes on, and that's Dean, who's lost it in the background and distracts Justin Winter's lap as he bounces off the wall.
Does indeed, and it's bad enough that Porsche is going to struggle anyway in the straights here, and it's probably not helped this start of his lap run there. So Justin Winter going to start another lap round. Meanwhile, Tim Bentinck's into the final corner, but it is a invalid lap time. He has got a car in front of him, but it's just crossed over a white line. That was the Cranky Duckhead. He's invalidated his lap time as we now look to the further end of the pack, which is Gomez following Kieran Argent, as they're both on a valid lap time. Two Mustangs running together.
The two Mustangs running together. Dean back in the pits with that damage, doing it in a lap time set, so he can get ahead of Dennis and Mirko Ricci, who are serving qualifying bans. Here comes Kieran Argent then towards the... Oh, he's just going to have invalidated that one. I'm sure Kieran Argent has done that. Moves straight out the way. He doesn't want to keep that one going. In fact, he's bailing. Looks like he's going to return to the pit lane, possibly thinking of his overheated tyres. I'd just be looking to get a lap time on the board. Gomez can't do nothing about it. Max Mulder's now on a lap time down. He's going to be coming towards the line as them conditions are going to improve and improve the more cars that go round. Max doesn't find any more time there. We then turn our attention to the number 93. That is... Richie Michelle before car 23 of Mark Tucker. Richie Michelle, he now moves himself up to P6, so he's starting to improve. Mark Tucker goes up to 13th place. Diesel's on an invalid. We now look at car 28, that is Senna. Podium in race 1. What can Senna do in this second race at the moment? He's in his first qualifying session here at SimPlay Motorsport. Is there any chance of him improving his lap time? Did he just take a bit of track limits? No, he did not. He's going to come to that line now as he uses a bit more of the wet track and finds half a second.
Indeed, but not enough to improve. Gomez has stopped and pulled to one side. We now look to the and we got the 333 of Brian Craig is now exiting the final corner. He's currently on a valid lap time. There's a couple behind him as well. I believe Argent is possibly one of them, as Brian Craig, no improvement. The 42, sorry, that was Tim Bentinck. This could be a lap time in the damp conditions. Crosses the line. And no improvement for Tim Bentinck. Cranky Duckhead, though, gets a lap time on the board and goes P17, while the 180 is the next car to the line. That is Paul Williams. Paul
Williams then coming around the final corner. Car number 7's had a spin, which was Dean and Kieran Argent to get a lap time in. John Andrews also in the pits. He could do with a lap time on the board. He's just come out the pit lane now. He's only going to get one shot at this. Here comes Paul Williams, 3.2 off the pace. Still 3.2 off the pace. It's car 3 of Max Mulder. Needs half a second to get on the back of John Gooday, and I think has just possibly invalidated his lap. Yes, he has. The next one is the 93 once again, and Richie Michelle still not coming to repair that damage, as Richie Michelle clearly feels comfortable. Good evening to Richard Beasley in the chat. Hope you're doing well, buddy. Here comes Richie Michelle, though, towards that start line. Needs a couple of hundredths to get ahead of Bruno Diaz. What's he going to find here? Finds a couple of hundredths, not enough. Diesel down in P11. He's the next man on a lap. Is he going to find a bit more as he'll start one more flying lap? He goes up to P8, finds a bit of time, but damn, that BMW not showing its strength in this tricky wet condition here at Indianapolis.
No, it is not, and it is now DJ Phil who's going to be coming into the chicane next on a valid lap time. Yeah, it seems like Diesel's struggling here, and I think he'll be wanting to get out of this round as quickly as possible and heading to Paul Ricard, which will be the next round of the championship. And guys, if you haven't done so, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell to be notified so you don't miss any of the action here. And also get ready, because we'll be starting our new GT4 season next week. The week after at Laguna Seca. I'll be bringing you the action while Mathew Duffin will be on track, as you've not seen him for a while, and yeah, due to that we're going to get him in the GT4s, possibly as we haven't got the champion returning, sadly. The Cranky Duckhead coming to the line, and he makes an improvement and go to 16th place.
Tim Bentinck also found a couple of tenths down just before the Cranky Duckhead, as you're saying that about the GT4s. Bruno doesn't find any time. What about Borough Becks, who is down in P10 at the moment? He finds no time. John Andrews is on a out lap. This will get him onto his normal lap. P. Williams to the line stays P13. Justin Winter will stay 12th. Max Mulder is done for qualifying, so he won't improve. Dean looks very, very slow. And is this going to be a lap time on the board? It is, only for 19th place. And who is the next car to the line? It is the 93 of Richie Michelle. Needs 300ths of a second to put himself higher than Bruno Diaz, who is on a final lap. Finds a bit more, finds a 10th, but that'll be all he's got. The 75 of Dizzle is coming to the line, stays on the wet patch of the circuit. He is done. He will not improve. What about John Gooday then, who's the next man to the line? He's not improving. It looks like he's just bounced off the wall, so he is done for his qualifying. I believe that is the 28 of Senna. What can Senna do then before 46 comes round?
8 tenths.
8 tenths of a second for Senna. Where's this going to put him on the grid? It puts him ahead of Max Mulder in P3. Car 46. That is Kieran Argent. He gets one shot at this. He looks a little all over the place coming out the final corner. Is he going to put a lap time on the board?
No.
He does not. DJ Phil then down in 15th place. He stays 15th place. Car 42 is Tim Ventink. Has he just secured pole position? He looks like he's backed out of that one. So when the conditions seem to be at their best, nobody's really improving. The 68 of Burabecks just had a yellow flag next to his name, I do believe.
He's improving.
Oh, he's up then. So, right, it must not have been Burabecks who had the yellow flag. So, Dan, talk us through this one.
He's only a couple of hundredths up. He's now losing it all in the final corner. He's running wide, and that is it. That's him done. He won't improve now. It is Justin Winter, I believe, is the last one. No, Justin returns.
So here comes, and John Andrews looks like he didn't get a lap time on the board, so he must have been validated at the end. So that then is your qualifying order, and 2 weeks in a row, that is Tim Ventink who takes pole position.
It is indeed, but can he make sure he doesn't jump the start? That's the question. BMW is not a massive fan of this circuit, says Dizzle, and that's such a shame, but hopefully Paul Ricard will probably suit the car a bit better, but you don't know what's going to happen in this race. Anything can possibly happen here at SimPlay Motorsport, and we're into damp conditions. It's going to be lightening up. It's going to stay lightening up.
It's damp, so you have to run the wet tyres. It's too wet for a slick tyre. But this, Dan, you saw at Silverstone when we did the 45-minute race, towards the end of the race, as it went from wet to damp, you saw last season how tricky them damp tyres was. You have to be looking at weather and have to be looking at when that goes greasy to maybe box and put the slicks on.
The problem is, though, a lot of these guys have either tested to pure dry conditions or they've tested just pure wet conditions. There hasn't been a session really where it's been wet to dry. So there is no real easy way of really predicting it. You just got to guess, really. Maybe make a strategy quickly that has some slicks prepared, ready, just in case. But I really just think you would do a turkey right now and just wear the tyres to the point that they become inters.
20 seconds.
We know from the Silverstone endurance race 2 months ago, in fact, that's how long that's been, 2 months ago, that you can run the slick tyre in the damp conditions.
10 seconds.
We saw that there. Yeah, just interesting to see what will happen here then. So McLaren takes pole position, that is its 76th pole position, to go with its 76th race win. Ferrari takes pole, sorry, so let me repeat that. Ferrari takes pole to give it its 20th pole position and its 19th race win. Can Tim get its 20th race win as well? In terms of podiums, we saw McLaren take a double podium. That puts it on to 225 podiums. And Ferrari took the race win as well. That puts it on 85 podiums in total. So interesting to see there. Dan, pick a race 2 winner.
Not Senna. Senna's not made the start.
Neither's Darren Bell.
I'm going Max Mulder.
I'm going John Gooday.
I didn't want to go John Gooday because I didn't want to curse him.
Well, sorry, John. In fact, I've got his Twitch loaded up on my phone. I'm just going to type sorry in his chat. And if he's listening to the stream, or if Clouden or anybody who's in John Gooday's party is listening to the stream, they'll be able to tell him why I've said sorry. Now, this is the interesting call here, isn't it? What tyre to go on? The track is going to improve. It is going to get that little bit drier as the session goes on. But yeah, what would you do, Dan, if you're out there in this condition right now?
You just stick to what you know. You just got to stick to what you know. Although, yes, the conditions are changeable. It's how quickly it goes from damp to greasy. It's how quickly. And within an hour, I mean half an hour, the rain is lightning. So you just have to play it by ear. You just have to do lap by lap. And with these cars all going around together, they'll clear the water together. If it was me, I'd just keep running wets until it got to the point that
and don't forget,
you would force to go to slicks.
There's the extra car on the track. It's an extra. It's a longer race. We know in half an hour the rain's still going to decrease. There's an extra car on the track. That's just going to make everything better.
It is. The track will improve. The track will get faster each lap as they push the water away. I think the problem they're going to have, like I said, it's seeing that weather then. If that was me in the pit lane, I would be quickly getting my dry pressures to one side ready in case I did need them at any point. So yeah, we'll see how these boys get on. But it is damp at the minute. It's going to stay damp. I really don't see it lightening up that massive amount, but we'll see what happens.
We will see what happens. This is going to be the biggest question on everybody's face, on everybody's mouth at the moment, is what will happen around this circuit. That is going to be the biggest question, I think, to date, to find out, really. Let's wait and see as they round the final corner now who is going to be able to do what. It is John Gooday on the front row of the grid with that of Tim Ventic, your race one winner. Tim's had the best pace all day. Senna, game didn't let me press ready. He says that's why he missed the start. He'll be able to take to the pit lane. It's green and go. It's a drive through for John Andrews for out of position at the start. You don't want to drive through. John Andrews has one, and look at the amount of cars standing with 3 or 4 wide already coming down the start straight, and that's John Andrews in a wall. He's also tapped the back of Diego Flores, and that's both of them in the wall, and that is their races done pretty much here, especially with John Andrews having the drive through.
Yeah, definitely. So a lot of cars not making turn one. They're all running a little bit wide as well. So all a little bit tentative about braking zones and traction and grip as they get going. But Tim Ventic has got the start he wanted. John Gouday's not really gone with him, and I think it's going to be difficult for John to stick with them. But Justin Whit... Dizzle and Richie Michelle come together.
They do indeed, and I believe the Cranky Duckhead's just had a spin all on his own. This is Richie Michelle we are currently on board with, who's battling the back then of S2M Burrabex. He's got Navel Gomez right behind him, but already from the start it is Venting from Gooday, from Max Mulder, from then that of Burrabex and Richie Michelle. Michelle going side by side with Navel Gomez, who's going to look to the outside of the chicane at the bottom end of the back straight. And is he going to try around the outside? No, he's tucked back in and thinks better of it. What's happened, Dan?
Tim Venting leading the way, and he's here. Nasty curb. He won't be doing that again. He's lost a bit of time to John Gooday, but Tim Venting suddenly found the curb that you probably didn't see, and S2M Burrabex having a much better run here in Indianapolis. Meanwhile, Gomez is under some immense pressure from that mighty Porsche in a section we should expect the Porsche to be very, very strong at as they now head to the braking zone. Rear engine though, so it might be a bit twitchy under braking, but he's got a Ferrari right in the way, and Gomez going around the outside of Michelle, trying to keep ahead of Justin Winter. Oh! Justin Winter makes contact with him.
He's absolutely lunged up the inside and thread the needle, Mirko Ricci. Through he goes, and that was brilliantly done. Bruno Diaz now going to try and look on the back of Justin Winter as well, so the gap's within half a second. John Gooday right on the back now of Tim Ventic, having a look into turn one, and I'm just keeping an eye on John's stream here. I can say that them tyres are already yellow, and they've only done one lap on the left hand side. His tyres are burning up. One lap in the damp, Dan. This is crucial at the moment. Dizzle 20th place on the back of DJ Phil into turn one. Can he make the move stick? Thank you, Mama, for the carrots up the inside.
I do think, though, the front engine cars were always going to struggle in these hotter, wetter conditions, and I do think John Gooday is going to have to nurse that front left. The rear engine cars, mid-engine and rear engine should be a little bit better with the rear end traction. I think they should be fine with temperatures, but the front engine cars were always going to struggle in the wet conditions, especially in these hotter conditions, I think. And there's all sorts of chaos going on behind Brian Craig at the minute. There's a whole gaggle of cars, a whole gaggle of McLarens.
There's a train of McLarens in the background at the moment, and who's going to do what down the back straight? Anybody having a look? Believe Mark Tucker had a bit of a look on Bjark Lund there. Then you got Dennis Hansen. Paul Williams is with them, just behind Dean. He's a couple of seconds off the back of that train. He's got the Mustang of Kieran Argent, who's obviously missed the first practice and the first race. So getting to grips with this Mustang as the conditions settle, and he's had a horrible sector through there. He was right up the rear end of Dean. He's now off the back, but look at Cranky Duckhead. He's got Dizzle going around the outside of him in his Honda and BMW, and they're on the back of Diego Flores, who's just up front. He's got bad damage after that start line incident with John Andrews, and up the inside goes Dizzle on Flores. Yes, he does. Got it wrong because Cranky Duckhead went deep with Diego, and that allows DJ Phil through as well.
Gomez is probably going to attack this Ferrari. Look at the straight line advantage of the Mustang. Is going to head towards turn 1, but not enough confidence on the brakes. As you can see, the rear end's twitching. And Richie Michel probably turned in a lot sooner. And Gomez, although he's got the straight line advantage, and contact between Richie Michel Richie this time.
Yeah,
so
Mirko.
A bit ambitious there, and Mirko has gone round.
Mirko's gone around. Justin Winter through, Bruno Diaz through, Brian Craig through. Jacques Lunt had a spin all on his own. So there goes Mark Tucker. Where has Mirko Richie come back out? I believe that is just ahead. No. Yes, just ahead of Paul Williams then. So he managed to drop down to about 13th position in this one. John Andrews is in for that drive-through penalty, and already Tim Ventic 2.7 clear of John Gooday, who's got 1.6 to Max Mulder. And I can just confirm that after 2.5 laps, all of John's tyres are yellow, his lefts are orange. So them tyres are screaming. And Dan, you had this at Silverstone last season in them damp conditions towards the end of that race at Silverstone, where your tyres was on that line. You surely now, if you're John Gooday, are waiting for that track to say greasy and getting into the pits.
But it's not going to do that. It is not going to change. So he's going to have to either change his driving style, change something, maybe move the brakes. As meanwhile, Gomez is coming back at the Ferrari. And Richie Michel really not giving any room for the Mustang to come through at the minute. And Bruno is right there as well. And I think Bruno, I thought he had a tap from Justin Winter there. But this is allowing S2M Borobex to just disappear, and he's on his own at the minute. No one around him. As Gomez again, the Mustang's come in once again.
John Andrews only just completed his drive-through penalty and did that movement there towards the wall of Gomez. Remind you of somebody from the weekend as down the start straight they come. It's Richie Michel in the Ferrari. It's Gomez in the Mustang. The straight line speed of the Mustang, but the brakes of the Ferrari keeps it superior to be in front. Has he gone a little deep? Just about, but manages to keep hold of that. There's Gomez, Bruno Diaz, Justin Winter was having a look as well as Brian Craig, Mark Tucker, Dennis Hansen. They're all in the thick of this battle, but it is really between Gomez and Richie Michel, and that Mustang just runs out a straight line, doesn't it, before it can make a move.
Right, he's going right round the outside of Richie Michel, and he's onto the grass. So he's made a massive error there, and he's managed to keep it somewhat facing the right way, but he's got right into the middle of the pack, and the Mustang really struggling in the corners, mighty on the straights, as Justin Winter, meanwhile behind, has jumped the Lambo, and now it looks like Brian Craig's about to jump the Lambo as well, so maybe Bruno has a bit of a moment reacting to Gomez's returning to track. It's a bit of an unsafe rejoin.
It was indeed, and Brian Craig's going to look up the inside there of Bruno Diaz, and that's job done for Brian Craig, as Richie Michel still has Gomez right behind him once again. John Gooday's now over 4 seconds behind Tim Venting in this race, but it is all about this pack here. It's a great little scrap at the moment. We've also got DJ Phil on the back of Kieran Argent's Ford Mustang further down the field, but once again towards the outside, and Richie Michel chops the nose off of Gomez there.
And John Andrews right in the way. He needs to find a way, and I don't know if he may cut. He's right in the way at the minute. He was better off just going to straight line the chicane, really. Yeah, he's managed to clear. Everyone's managed to clear him one way or another. And once again, Richie Michel trying to make that Ferrari as wide as humanly possible. And here comes the Mustang again.
It's just got such superior straight line speed, does the Ford Mustang over the Ferrari. The Ferrari so much better on the brakes, but because of this, Esteban Borobex is now 10 seconds up the road from this train of cars here. And again, Michel can just run a little deep on the brakes, and he'll get it stopped for the apex of turn 2, which comes up pretty quick. So Richie Michel already being able to find where he can exploit here. Down the order a little bit, Kieran Argent's got DJ Phil hassling the back of him, and John Andrews is back in the pit lane already, Dan. That looks like with damage.
Yeah, he is indeed, or just trying to get out of the way. Oh, Richie Michel had a twitch, and Gomez is down the inside. Gomez has got the job done finally, but can the Mustang hang in there? The Mustang with his rear twitchiness He's gone a little bit wide as well, so the Ferrari may be able to come back here, but Gomez has finally cleared the Ferrari, and can he use the superior straight line speed to get away?
I've just found out why Kieran Argent looks all over the place and he's struggling.
He's on dries.
He is running the slick tyre and he's not short of temperature in that slick tyre. The pressures aren't quite there at the moment, but that is why Kieran is struggling so far. He's gambled for the slick tyre. Is this a great call from Kieran Argent? It's either genius or not, really. But like you say, Gomez now up into P5. He's already dropped Richie Michel. He's still got Justin Winter from company with B. Craig, Dennis Hansen, Bruno Diaz just dropping off the back. Dennis has got Bruno. Dennis, don't forget, qualifying man, come from the back of the grid. He's running P9.
He is indeed. Gomez last lap did a 47.3, best is a 43.6, and if I then compare it to Argent, or try and find, let's run it compared to the two Mustangs. So obviously one's clearly running into the wets, while the other one is on the slicks. And Argent's best lap last lap was a 47.5. What the guys around him are doing, so and he's improving this lap. I think he's 2.5 seconds up. He is, so Argent's getting temperature and pace in those slicks now.
So Argent slicks starting to work from him. Look, he's gapped DJ Phil. That's 1.4 seconds. So as long as Argent sticks the race in line, he's going to be okay. That rain is getting less and less over this next half an hour. Still 50 minutes left in this race.
In the way again. He's right in the way of this gaggle of cars. Justin Winter's gone wide. He's been paid the... I don't know what John Andrews is doing. He's either got to retire that car and then come back out, but he's not able to repair that damage, and he's right in the way of this gaggle of cars. Every time he comes out, he's right in this fight.
Yeah, needs to move well out the way for the lead cars to come through. And you have to say at the minute, John Andrews being a bit of a hindrance so far on the brakes down into the corner. Did he just tap Diego? I think he's just forced Diego off the road.
And John Andrews, what is he doing?
Oh, Dean's deep. Dean's very deep there. He's well off on his own. And Kieran Argent on the slicks might gain a position here, Dan. I tell you what, this could be a ballsy strategy from Kieran Argent.
It is indeed. There's a little bit of spray still coming from the back of the car. He's a little bit twitchy, and he's currently matching his best time at the minute. As I will try and find what the leaders are doing at the minute. Dizzle, meanwhile, he's in the 44.1s. Yeah, he's done a 44.1 as his best.
John Gooday's in the
42.5.
Yeah, so Gooday's in the 42. So for him, and then you've got that Kieran Argent. He's a few seconds off, isn't he? But
once that starts coming down,
yeah, this is the thing, isn't it? We've seen with John's stream,
Richie Michel and Brian Craig and Dennis all going at it at the minute, and Brian is looking for an opportunity. He's going to be down the inside of Richie Michel, and Richie just struggling here. He's being mugged by every car at the minute. And contact with Dennis.
Yeah, and both of them look like they've had a moment, because Justin Winter's come through on screen. I can't see. Dennis is now through. There's Justin Winter. Where is Richie Michel?
He's got going finally, but
yeah, he's right in the way of Tucker and Dizzle here, and he's going to go around the outside of Tucker. And Tucker up the inside. Richie Michel should have the inside for the next part. No, he won't over Tucker. He might over Dizzle, though. He will over Dizzle. Dizzle will have to yield that one to Richie Michel. But Kieran Argent, yeah, I'm just looking at his stream. His left tyre's very light blue. His right, little colder, but not too bad. The pressure is going to be the interesting one, because we know that in the greasy conditions, you can pretty much run slicks at pressure. His pressures are...
The problem is that he's going to have...
So his pressures are in the 23s and 22s. That's the issue he's got at the moment.
Well, yes, and also the pressure he's going to have, he's going to be running on a train track. He's got to stay on the dry line. If he goes wandering wide or tries to make a move, those slicks won't fire up.
Yeah.
And at the minute, with no pressure, barely any temperature, he's still going to be struggling anyway. But this is a bold move, and it is meant to be decreasing, but the rain at the minute is still coming down. But Argent's managing to keep it on the black stuff. I think it would have been a good call if the car was able to, if the track was drying out quickly, but it's not drying out quickly enough. Meanwhile, Dizzle is right on the rear wing of Richie Michel again, who's just been mugged left, right and centre, and DJ Phil is now on the back of Kieran Argent.
He is, yeah, and Kieran Argent's only 3/10 down on his personal best lap, so DJ Phil must just have a cracking lap time at the moment. And like I say, Argent's got to run on them rails so far, otherwise it's not going to work for him. Currently watching Dizzle and Richie Michelle. Gap out front's 5.2 seconds. John's gap Max Mulder as well. So all people just up front starting to nurse that tyres. Gomez has brought the gap down from just over 10 seconds to 8.1 to Borough Bex. All the top four possibly just nursing their tyres, knowing that them lefts on the wet tyres are just overheating slightly.
I don't think... Oh, Tim Benting's gone very, very deep and wide. He's off circuit and he's got back on. I don't know if they're nursing them. I just think this is just their pace at this stage, as John Goudet is trying to just stick with him. But S2 Borough Bex minding his own business once again. Nothing crazy going on. He's 10 seconds behind and he's pretty much 7 seconds ahead of Gomez, who's on his own now. Brian Craig. Oh, Dennis Hansen's had a moment. He's gone off, and Justin Winter goes through, as does Bruno, and who was that as well? That was Richie. Oh, they made contact! The Lamborghini and the McLaren came together, hit the wall, and Mirko Richie coming back on track, and meanwhile there's all sorts of other chaos as Richie Michelle is now attacking Tucker. Tucker is going up the inside. Dizzle's trying to get the switchback. Oh my God!
That was Mirko Richie nearly bowling there. He nearly skittled them all over in that one stage. Dizzle's managed to get 2 places as a train reaction there. 3 places because of Mirko Richie. And in the background is that as DJ Phil's just tapped the pit wall on the start straight. Dean is also there now. He's on the back of Mirko Richie. Going to possibly have a look up the inside. Is that Richie Michelle having a look as well on Brian Craig? No, Mark Tucker, sorry. No, it is not. But at the minute, so far, so good. And yeah, this is an interesting one in this race at the moment.
Dizzle has done what he kind of needed to do. He needed to get past that gaggle of cars, and now he could try and run his race and try and work his way onto the back of Dennis and then Bruno, Justin Winter, and then eventually Brian Craig. I think he could get Brian Craig. Gomez, though, I think is just a little bit too far away. I mean, I say that, Gomez has gone very deep coming towards the chicane. Yeah, Gomez just needs to tone it down a little bit. But Tim Ventink is starting to lose time to John. It was 4.4 is the gap, and I think that Tim Ventink is looking for the wet stuff.
Telling you, these wet tyres are starting to overheat. All these drivers,
Kieran Argent.
All these drivers having to.
Argent's had contact from DJ Phil, and now he's on the wet stuff.
Yeah, that's going to ruin his.
And this is his problem with the slicks.
That's going to ruin his slick tyres. But so this is the gamble at the moment, Dan, isn't it? The wet runners are having to cool the wets. Kieran touches the wet stuff. His slicks go too cold. So you're kind of in a strange position to be in, aren't you? It is very difficult to decide on what you're doing. The track's still damp, 34 degrees track temperature at the moment. That's gone up a degree since the start of this race. Pit window opens in about 7 minutes time, and look at how many drivers are having to search for the wet stuff to cool them wet tyres down, Dan. Everybody's having to do so down the start finish straight.
Well, I'm currently on board with Tim Venting to look at his lap times. His best was a 41.8 in the wet, obviously, conditions. His last lap was a 42.7, so he's searching for water, and he's down on this lap at the minute. Meanwhile, the others are up on their lap time because they've got a little bit more clean air, and they've been racing one another. Argent still best is a 45.0. Dizzle now with clean air 44.1. So, yeah, John Goudet is a 43.2. So they're all just trying to find... something now, and the wet stuff. Meanwhile, Dennis is on the back of Bruno once again. And Dizzle's not far behind them.
No, Dizzle started to gain on these two, and he needs a better second race to score some points over the championship. I say a better second race. He had a good first race, did Dizzle anyway. He just needs to keep going at the moment. And so far, Dennis on the back of Bruno Diaz. He dropped down a couple of places. You've got Mark Tucker with Richie Michelle, who's round.
Richie Michelle has had contact with his brother, teammate, whatever, Marco Richie, and he spun his own teammate around and has got carried on going.
Well, that's promoted Dean up 2 spots. DJ Phil got a spot, as did Paul Williams, as did Björk Lund. Kieran Argent a little bit off the back of these two. So that's going to be an interesting one to keep our eyes on so far. And yeah, you say in the greasy conditions, if you've got the pressures, it doesn't matter about the temperatures. That's one thing that these drivers, but what I'm saying is, that's one thing that these drivers are now going to be struggling with. The wet runners clearly searching for that wet water and the damper parts of the circuit to cool their tyres and bring their tyres down pressure. Kieran's aren't going up any, so his slicks aren't improving at all. So it's still in that phase of the wet tyre better.
Justin Winter and Bruno have come together. So I think Justin Winter had his own moment, and just as Dizzle comes round, he hits the front of Bruno as well. So Dizzle, after doing all that work to clear traffic, has just come around the corner and seen Bruno in the middle of the circuit, and contact is made. But I think the difference that these boys have here at Indianapolis that we had at Silverstone was a lot of very fast corners and aggressive corners at that, so it would burn the wet tyre out pretty quickly. Well, here they're able to cool them a little better. The corners are slower and the straights are a lot longer. So Tim Venting looking for more water again. John's lost time. Max has lost even more time as well. So at the minute, Tim is extending his gap.
Tim is extending that gap. It's over 5 seconds. We're down to Dean at the minute, who's now got Bruno Diaz on the back of him, and he's trying to keep up with the back of Mark Tucker, running in P10, current Constructors Champion with High Tech, obviously running solo this season. At least the slicks won't wear too much as PM Motorsport. And Michelle is on the slicks as his tyres have the Pirelli logo on the sidewall. The wets are just plain black. So there you go. Richie Michelle also running the slick tyre. Maybe that's why then, Dan, we saw the likes of Gomez early on in this race look so much quicker.
Possibly so. And then he's just been mugged left, right and centre. And I'm just trying to see.
So, yeah. Here's a question for you then, Dan. If you're Kieran and if you're Richie Michelle...
Kieran just struggling massively now.
If you're Kieran and Richie Michelle, do you go as long as possible? You've chosen this strategy. Do you hope that with that weather decreasing in this race, do you go as long as possible in that pit window and hope that the track will start to come to you?
By the way, if that theory is true, which I don't believe it is, because I'm now currently looking at John Goudet and the Pirelli logos are showing on his tyres. I don't believe that is true.
Yeah, no, the Pirelli logo is showing on John Goudet, and I've been on John's stream and that said he was on the wets. So yeah, I think PNU might be wrong there then, because I'm watching John's stream now and he is definitely on the wet. So we've just said a moment ago, by the way, about Kieran's tyres being in the 32 PSIs. 23 PSIs. John's are sat in the 31s.
And Justin Winter have come together. Oh my God, and there's all sorts of chaos.
Yeah, that's Dean involved and Mark Tucker.
They had their own moment while Dizzle and Justin Winter had their own as well. So Dizzle can't get going. And that's an unsafe rejoin for Dizzle. He's right in the middle of the circuit and causing all sorts of chaos. Dizzle was probably sitting there thinking, oh God, I really disliked it, Indianapolis, and he's now probably waiting for the pit window to open.
Kieran Argent's now been passed by Cranky Duckhead, and like you say, yeah, I'm just wondering then, you're right, because yes, them to have the Pirelli sidewall.
Oh my God! So Justin Winter just staying out of the way. I think he's waiting for Dizzle. And Bruno and Paul Williams come to the chicane, missed their braking, and just near enough hit Justin Winter. What has happened? And Dean's now around again.
Justin Winter's round with some big damage. Dean is also off, so have Dean and Justin Winter had a coming together. Where's
Dizzle?
This is promoting all sorts of drivers. Dizzle's down in 20th place. He's behind out of Kieran Argent. Justin's coming into the pit lane, I do believe, is he not? No, he's still spinning around. If he's on the wet tyres, he's probably burning them up even more.
Yeah, they're done. He needs to change them no matter what happens. Meanwhile, the gap.
Jacques Lund at turn 1 brakes so much later and has to avoid the back of Richie Michelle that he nearly goes deep at turn 1, taking the oval in reverse. And Dan, the weather has changed. The weather has changed. It will just go down to a shower towards the end of this race. So this will surely now, with the amount of cars on circuit, go to greasy. You have to, if you're on that slick tyre, stay out as long as possible.
John Goudet's desperately looking for the water. The pit window now opens. Who is going to be the first one to react? Justin Winter has returned to the pits, as has Gomez. And Justin Winter is going to be absolutely cursing at this race right now because he got disconnected in the first race.
Yeah.
And now he's pretty much out of this one. Brian Craig continues on. There's already a car coming to us, but that's John Andrews coming in. But
I'm currently looking...
it's still damp.
It is still damp. But Kieran's tyres are starting to get a little bit more temperature. It won't help when he's drifting through corners. Then pressure's starting to come up. I then switch over to John Gooday, and his tyres are now sitting in the 31.7 psi mark. They are bright red on the left. So this is where we're at now in this race. As that showers are going to start to come in, you have to fancy this damp weather. Bruno is in, Richie's in, Richie Michelle is in, P. Williams is coming into the pitch, Bjork Lund carries on his way, as does Kieran Argent, as does Cranky Duckhead, as does Dizzle, as does Darren Bell. Senna, who's had a dismal race from the back of the grid, he's into the pitch. Justin Winter came in, but he'll have to pit again. Diego Flores will need to pit again, and John Andrews is also in. It's been a chaotic start to this race, and we don't know where to look, but Mark Tucker's on the rear of DJ Phil at the moment. This is for 8th and 9th for DJ Phil.
It is indeed, and anything can still happen, even though we're even not quite at the halfway stage. People are still making mistakes and errors, and even though Dizzle and Justin Winter, I know probably unlikely for Justin Winter, but for Dizzle especially, anything can still happen. Everyone's still making mistakes. The wet tyres are overheating and burning out. They could blow with the pressures.
Exactly, this is the problem.
Puncher is now very much on the mind of wet runners, and I'm watching Arjun at the minute. He's improving his lap time, his overall lap time. He is a 10th up on his best at the minute, and he goes into the braking zone, and he's just run a little bit wide, but he's still up at this stage. He needs to stay in those train tracks.
Stay in the train tracks, brake early, get the, roll through the corner.
Max Mulder's in.
Maybe for Argent. Max Mulder into the pits. DJ Phil and Mark Tucker going at it. Mark Tucker's going to look up the inside. He's made the corner too tight and manages to not collect the back of DJ Phil there. So Max Mulder's pit stop is done. These two are going to carry on their way. Kieran's 2 seconds off the back of Dean. It's a stop-go penalty for P. Williams. Oh, he was in the thick of this race. Mirko Ricci, by the way, didn't complete his pit stop.
Oh no, it just gets worse and worse for some drivers, and that's probably what Dizzle needs at the minute, others to make a mistake. And Max Mulder is going down the pit lane and weaving, so that indicates to me he's put the
slick tyres on, I reckon there. That is a bold move for Max Mulder, who was running third.
I think Argent made a bold move at the start of the race. I think now is the time to really start thinking about putting the slick on, because it is drying out. So Argent's done all the hard work. I know Max Mulder has got a stream going, and he's put the slicks on.
There we go then. There we go. So Max Mulder's put the slicks on as well. Oh, well then. This is going to be interesting in this race at the moment.
I'll keep an eye, but at the minute his tyres at the moment are very cold.
Yeah.
But he'll hopefully get them up to temperature. But I'm looking on his stream, and there looks like barely any rain. On our screen there looks like quite a bit of rain. On ours, there's barely anything. Oh, sorry, on his there's barely anything.
Track still damp at the moment. We're still watching this fight between Mark Tucker and DJ Phil. Phil's just been able to gap Mark Tucker a little bit this lap. Gap out front's up to 6.1. If you're John, do you think of maybe pitting early to try and do what Max Mulder's just done? Because if Max can start to get them slick tyres up to pressure, you're probably not going to get the temperature. Probably going to get the pressure though. This could be interesting. This could be,
but I also think if any car could possibly nurse the dry tyre and get them where they need to. The Aston Martin is very good at it.
Yeah.
The Aston Martin overall is a very, very strong car, and I think if any car is going to do it, it will be the Aston. But we will see as I'm just keeping an eye on Max Mulder, and John is coming into the pits now. As there's all still loads of fights going on as Mark Tucker is trying to pass DJ Phil. DJ Phil's got wide touch to the grass, and that's going to allow the McLaren to have a sniff up an opportunity, but Mark Tucker can't do anything about it at this stage.
So I'm just looking currently on Hypertech Stream here, and okay, he's stopped in his box now. He's changing to another set of wet tyres.
I think that's a bad call.
This track's just going to get drier. With that rain decreasing still in this race, this track is just going to get drier. 23 cars clearing that water. Yeah, I'd have to agree with you.
Richie Michelle has got very deep and gone onto the grass. With 9 minutes, you could have extended that for as long as possible. Max Mulder's tyres aren't getting up to temperature, and they're not getting up to pressure. They're sitting at 23.4 psi. So it might have been the right call for John Goudet right here and now, but I think towards the end of this race, if the rain keeps slowly easing off.
Where is Max?
Back he's behind.
So, yeah, he's not going to be able to pass
he's got
John.
He's got ahead of Kieran Argent, who's got major damage.
So Kieran's pretty much out this race. If I was Kieran, I'd probably pit now, repair the damage, fill the car up with fuel and go. Keep the slicks on. I wouldn't change tyre with it drying. You've done that strategy. Stick with that strategy. John is going to leave the pits well before Max Mulder actually, no, is he? Because he's not yet. He's off the limiter now. So, yeah, he should be pretty comfortable. And don't forget, his tyres will be up to pressure and temperature a lot quicker than Max Mulder's.
Indeed, Max Mulder's fastest lap was a 42.8. He's just crossed the line with a 43.4. So we'll see if Max can find anything with those slicks. But the McLaren's looking pretty stable, to be fair.
Yeah, I've got John Stream on. Tyres sat at 27 on the right, 25 psi on that left, but already the top part of the tyre is red, is bright red. So John is already having them tyres, you know, straining at the moment. They are going to be screaming at him the minute he comes through this next sector. Pressures are already up at 27.2 for John Goudet as he comes down this back straight, Dan, and his stream's a little behind where he is at the moment. The tyres are red. I think that the slick tyre is the way to go for Max Mulder if you can make them work. I'm not sure what has happened to Dan. DJ Phil is into the pit lane, as is John Andrews.
Sorry,
everybody's complete stops. No problem there. There's Dan Controller dies, and Tim Venting, no need to pit yet. These guys, I think the top four, I feel like they're going as long as possible. John's tyres after a lap.
Oh no! The cranky duckhead misses his braking and hits Max Mulder.
Oh, you're joking.
Max Mulder's got damage.
So just as we was possibly getting a race on, Max Mulder's been given damage. John Gooday's tyres are red and already at 29.5. He could still face a puncher here in this race. This is a shame. This is a shame.
As long as they're red and they don't exceed pressure,
what is kind of like the limit before they go bang?
If they outseed the pressure, it's all about pressures. Yes, they can get hot.
But, yeah, but that's what I mean, though. Because obviously we know the wets kind of run at like
35. I think it's 35.
John's on his second lap, and they're at 30.2.
He's probably sat there on his when he came into the pits. He probably sat there for ages trying to figure out what is the right pressure that he needed to adjust and change. But the problem is, like we keep saying, the weather is going to keep easing off. S2M Borobex runs a little bit wide and clips the wall. I think he's had some form of nightmare because he was 38 seconds behind Tim Venting. So he's not had a shocker. He's just not really.
These last couple of laps has not gone his way. Has it?
No, not really. And he's in a bit of traffic at the minute, which isn't helping him. Kieran Argent damage still, and I'm looking at lap times at the minute, and I'm just trying to see.
Not pitted yet, neither is Kieran Argent. I'm surprised he's not decided to come and get rid of that damage and stick, you know, with the tyres. They're not going to get much cooler than what they are. Max gets past Dean. Dean makes a mistake, so Max is now 7 seconds behind John Goudet. With that bit of damage, what can he do? As John's tyres are screaming at him at a 31 psi.
Max's last lap time, as he comes to the line now, I'm going to wait for this lap time to cross. He crosses across the line now, and he does a 43.1. He's 3/10 of his best lap at this stage.
No, John's last lap was his out lap.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I
it'll be the
believe
next time
actually,
around.
No, this one should be his first flying lap. I will find him. Because it doesn't stay on the car for me. So his last lap was a 42.8. So Max is
half a second.
Only slower. Is only slower by 3/10 pretty much. So John Goudet, I think right here and now he's done the right choice. He's gone for the wets, but I think over time with it drying out, I think the slicks will come back to Max. And I've got his stream up next to me, and he's just currently level on his best lap time at the minute, which is still 43.1.
Yeah, John's tyres.
Tim Benting, I don't know what he's done for tyres.
Diego Flores making a bit of an unsafe rejoin there in front of Mark Tucker. And Diego is a lap down to these two as well. So gets in Mark's way as Senna's on the back of him. We've also got Bruno Diaz trying to hunt down, I was going to say DJ Phil. I'm not sure who that is in front of him then. I think it's Mirko Ricci who's possibly a lap down. So Justine, the top two, and DJ Phil left to pit, except the top two are in the pits. Tim Benting is going to get past. I think Tim's still on the wets because he's already done looking for that water, as is John Goudet. So John can see the back of Tim Benting, 4.5 seconds. There's Max Mulder. Look, the gap was over 7 seconds to John Goudet last time out. He can stay on the racing line. It's still 7.7. So let's keep our eyes on that gap in this race at the moment. Closest battle on track, though.
Max's fastest lap. Max is now going faster than he did. He's done a 42.4. Max is going faster now. The slicks are coming to him.
Right, so there we go. Senna's got past Mark Tucker as well through them pit stops. Kieran Argent, I believe, is just behind. Is he ahead of Dizzle? Where's Kieran Argent? I believe he is just ahead of Dizzle. Yes, he is. So Kieran Argent is P14 overall. Max is now faster. Dean's the last man to pit, and he's got.
He wasn't fastest.
No, but faster.
He wasn't fastest on that last lap either. It was. John Goudet was fastest last lap. He'd done a 42.3.
What was the gap last time around? Was it 7.7 at the start line?
They're trading tenths, literally at this minute.
Well, Max has gained a big chunk of time. 5 seconds John Goudet to Tim Benting. 6.7 after Sector 1. What's the time going to be through Sector 2? That's going to be the biggest question. John Goudet 5.4 to Tim Benting now. 6.7 was the gap Max Mulder to John. He gains 3/10 through Sector 2.
But again, like I said earlier on, where Arjun didn't do it, he needs to stay in the train tracks. He does. Yeah. And the nice thing about Max at the minute, he has no real traffic around him at this minute.
The next
S2M Borough Bex. Dean's still not pitted yet.
Yeah, Dean's going to come in. I assume Dean's going to come in next lap. It is Darren Bell, the next car ahead of Max Mulder. And then it is John Goudet, 5.2. So John takes 2/10 out of Tim. And it was 6.4 for Max. It's now 6.3. So he gains another 10th. So slowly but surely creeping onto the back of the wet tyre runners.
Max is in the 41s.
And what did John do last time around? I can actually tell you, I've got his stream loaded. John did a 43.4. That tells you all you need to know, if you ask me. The track is becoming there for the wet tyres.
Max Mulder did a 41.9. But it was invalidated.
Closest
so
fights
on pretty much a second.
Yeah, there's not a lot of fights on the track at the minute. So 6.3. It was 5.2 Tim to John Goudet. That's gone up to 5.8. And it was 6.3 Max to John Goudet at the start line. Cranky Duckhead back in the pits. It's now 5.9. He's gained another 4/10. I think John Gooday's messed up his tyre strategy here. And I also think Tim Ventic may have just done that as well. He keeps looking for the wet stuff. Max Mulder could win this race.
Oh, no! Max got very deep, though.
Yeah, that's his problem. Like you said, train tracks, Dan.
And the thing is, when he comes back on track, the tyres are gonna be much cooler. They're gonna be back out the window again, and his pressures have dropped right down. He's down to 22 psi on the front. So where the guys at the front are exceeding pressures, he's running wide now. He's struggling to get back into that train track.
The bonus for Max is...
Is it getting heavier, the rain?
No, it's still the same. Looks a bit heavier, actually, to be fair. The bonus for Max is he's not got to worry about the punches, whereas John's got to keep looking for that water. This could go anyway. 8.8 the gap now. This could go anyway.
The problem is for Max, though, you can still get punches with lower pressures.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
It's even more likely.
If he stays in that train track, they could up slightly.
They could up slightly, but he just needs to touch a curb wrong. He just needs to touch the edge of a curb wrong, and that's it. And inflation happens. And, yeah, it goes wrong from there onwards. S2M Bex is now looking to try and lap some cars. And, again, I can't really describe his racing him. It's just been lonely. Same as Gomez now. That's the 31 now gets a speed in pit lane.
Yeah, Cranky Duckhead stop go penalty for speeding in the pits, and him, Diego Flores and John Andrews have had a nightmare race too, to say the least. Kieran Argent's lost out to Dizzle. Kieran Argent didn't repair his damage in the pits. That does surprise me. John's gap to Tim now 6.1. Max has got it back down to 8.6. He though is about to lap Dean. Like I said, S2M Borough Bex, he's got, is that, who is that just in front? The 204 of Winter. And then he's at car number 7. That's Bjork Lund. So how far's Winter behind? Is Winter a lap down to Bjork Lund? I believe he is.
He was pissed, wasn't he? He was in the pits. He's returned to pit lane, and the Cranky Duckhead's gone off again.
I think he's maybe just put the slicks on there for Cranky.
I think the problem is now Max has already pushed it a little bit too far for the slicks. I think what's happened now, the slicks have just got to the point where he's gone onto the grass, he's lost too much pressure, he's lost too much temperature, and now he can't get that temperature back up. Although I'm saying that, he's got very light blue, kind of like a cyan blue tyre at the minute, and he's gaining that time back. But it does all that hard work, and he loses it all by just missing a brake here or the two, or just snatching the brakes a little bit too much, taking too much curb. Anything like that, and that's going to ruin Max's charge. He's still got 20 minutes, so it still could possibly be on, but I think John's going to be struggling with his front left.
Yeah, and this is the thing, is the overheating, it's just going to wear that wet tyre as well. It's going to turn it into a slick, and that's going to be John's problem as well, as that is Darren Bell moving out the way of Max Mulder. 7.8 the gap between Tim. It was 7.8 between John and Max. It's now 7.2. He's pulled 0.6 back already this sector. He's just got to, what he's got to do, Dan, is he's just got to brake that little bit earlier, make sure he's getting it slowed down for the corner in case he does run a little bit deep. But Max Mulder's tyre is sitting in a good place, I think, at the moment.
What Max needs to do at this stage, he needs to push as all of us do, but he needs to be running at 80, possibly 75% at this stage. The rest of the guys are flat out with the wet tyres. They have to. But with Max, he just needs to sit right at the 75, maybe 80% area, just to nurse those slicks. Yeah. Don't make a mistake here or there. Just make sure you hit your braking zones. Make sure you can, even though these guys are running ABS and traction control, you can still catch the brakes. You can still lock up. And every time you lock up, that's a flat spot. And it's the same for the wet runners. Right now, John Goudet's on the dry stuff because he's trying to lap Bruno. Yeah. But Bruno's also trying to find the wet stuff. So what do you do at this stage?
And that's the problem. If Bruno's moving off the racing line, as the rules state, so John can't really go behind him on the wet stuff and complain about the back markers, can he? Because technically the back marker's done the right thing. So Hypertex, John Goudet's got to compensate for that by just running on the drier line a little bit more. Yeah, I'm intrigued to see what's going to happen here.
I think Tim Ventink is, unless he doesn't make any mistakes himself, I think he's got this in control.
Yeah.
It's whatever happens to Max and John now, which John trying to get himself back into this championship fight, this is all the points he could do right now. But obviously we had that issue at Kota where we had a mass disconnection.
Sorry, that gap was 7.2, it's now 6.4, 8 tenths in the first sector.
And Max Mulder at the minute is currently 4 tenths up on his best, which wasn't the 41.9, it's still the 47.4. Sorry, the 42.4. So, yeah, this is going to be another 41, but the slick tyre runners are now, again, it ebbs and flows ever so slightly. 1 minute they're the tyre to be on, the next minute they're not. It's right on a knife edge at this stage, and there you go, Max just runs a little bit wide again, and it's just losing him time ever so slightly.
Who was that off? I believe that was Mirko. Yeah, I think Mirko Ritchie was just off there as we was watching John Gooday come round. Look at him looking for that wet stuff. There's Max in the background, by the way, and as the camera is going to pan out when John comes back across, Max does not need to move. So John, every little movement at the minute just costing that time. 6.2, so the gap went up 0.2 of a second due to Max running a little wide. 42.2. John Gooday last time around was a 43.1. So 0.9 of a second taken out of that time, and is that John just having a little slide on the rear? All them tyres just slowly starting to maybe wear.
Who knows what other fights are going on at the minute. Dizzle's slowly bringing the gap down to Dean. Dean's had a decent race, I would say.
13th place, good for him, yeah.
Yeah, not bad, yeah. He's actually catching Darren Bell as well, so he's not a massively far behind. But as we've got just over 16 minutes left to go, your running order at the minute with fastest lap at the minute still to his name is Tim Venting leading the way with a healthy lead of 9 seconds now ahead of John Gooday. Can he hang in there from the very fast running Max Mulder for BSP Racing? Number 3 McLaren is hunting them down in a very lonely P4 as S2M Burrow-Backs minding his own business and scoring decent points for himself. While Gomez, after having a massive fight with a group of cars earlier on, the leading Mustang, and looking good at the minute for a P5, with Dennis Hansen coming from the back of the pack to work his way to the front, and he's in 6th place position. Ahead of Brian Craig, Team Merlot, a better race in this one, while Richie Michelle starting on those slicks, dropping back possibly as he's running wide in turn 1. He's not had the best run here tonight. Senna, again, another car that started from pit lane up to 9th and worked his way through the order, while Bruno, a lap down, trying to stay out of the way, is in 10th place position and trying to move out of Max Mulder's way, and that is your current top 10.
It is indeed. It's Mark Tucker who's P11. He's actually gaining on the back of Bruno Diaz. So as Bruno's trying to let Max Mulder through, you've got Mark Tucker there as well. And I believe that's Mirko Ritchie just kind of in between them two. It's Darren Bell who's P12 from Dean in 13th. Dizzle is P14 from Kieran Argent. His slick tyre option just didn't work for him. Bjork Lund is P16 from DJ Phil. Paul Williams down in 18th place with Mirko Ritchie 19th. Justin Winter from Diego Flores, who's had another off. Cranky Duckhead coming out after his stop go, and John Andrews has struggled in this one. Dizzle gaining now on the back of Dean. That gap's down to 1.5 seconds, and Max Mulder's within 4.3, Dan. So he's taking even more time out of John Gooday this lap.
Yeah, it was another 42 again, 42.7 for him. As long as he's in the 40, he can see him. He can see him now. So this is going to be interesting, because when Max comes to race him, he has to go off. He'll have to go offline.
He will have to go offline, or yeah, John's going to do. The thing is, if you're John,
Richie nearly hit Max again.
If you're John, do you defend heavily from Max? Depends at what stage of the race. I think he catches you, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, at the minute we've got 14 minutes still, so he's still got to get onto the back of him. But what John has the advantage is the fact that the Aston's quite good in a straight line.
Yeah.
That's his advantage, and he can push the car a little bit more, and just, you know, he can probably put the car in different places, while Max, like I said, still has to stay in that train track. As meanwhile, Bruno is under some immense pressure from Mark Tucker right now. Mark Tucker's in the back of that Lamborghini.
Yes, he's pushing him down the start straight. Watch out for Dizzle and Dean in the background, but Mark Tucker's going side by side in towards turn 1. He's made the corner a little tight for himself. Does he get the move done? He does, just about finishes it now. Great move from Mark Tucker. Dizzle stuck behind Dean in the background. He wasn't able to follow through, but Mark Tucker moving himself up into the top 10. Good points for the Team Merlot drivers here, and Max has got that gap to 4.4 seconds at this stage of the race with 13 minutes left to go. It is anybody's game for this second place. It's pretty much the top 3 though will be the podium. It's just a case of who gets what on the podium.
Yeah, it is who gets what, and also they just got to John's just got to make his Aston Martin extremely wide. And would it be the smart thing to do not to fight Max? No, he needs he needs to start taking points away from Max. We're getting to the halfway stage of the season, and John is still in this championship for sure. And the man who finished third in the championship last season, he still wants to show that he's a part of this championship fight. Obviously, due to the fact that he was unable to commit to Thursday nights, that's why we said to keep him into the Pro-Am. But he definitely still wants to show that he is a top 3 runner here, and Max is doing everything he can to bring that gap down. 3.8, while Tim Bentinck has got a lovely lead at the minute of what's it going to be across the line? 11.5. So Tim Bentinck could pretty much cruise to the end, while Max crosses the line and it's 3.7.
And there's no cars in between them now. We're watching Dizzle, Darren Bell. Dean's got on the back of Darren Bell as well here, and Dizzle just lost a bit of time over Dean that lap. I believe that is Mirko Ricci who's on the back of Bruno trying to unlap him, as there's a flashing light possibly from Darren Bell to Mirko Ricci. As is that Mirko? Yeah, it is Mirko Ricci who then lets Bruno Diaz back through. So Darren Bell flashing Mirko to tell him to get out of the way. He's coming through as a lapped car.
Dizzle's done Dean. Dizzle
has done Dean in the background. We're watching Darren Bell, who's got them too close to the back of him here. And the gap's now down to 3 seconds between John and Max Mulder. So Max Mulder, there he is in the background of John. He is coming.
He is indeed. But the other problem that he's going to start to experience is dirty air, as Darren Bell really defending hard from Dizzle, and has actually put him off, put him wide.
Oh, no! Contact between Darren Bell and Dizzle, and I don't know if Darren Bell lost it on his own. Gives Dizzle a flash of the lights. Did Dizzle give him a tap there? I'm not sure. Dizzle gets back going. Kieran Argent's no ground here. Max Mulder now down 2.8. So he is charging on John Gooday. Let's watch John down the start straight here. This could be interesting.
It could indeed. I've gone to the replay just to see exactly what happened, because the camera just cut at the wrong time there. Because I'm not sure if Dizzle possibly made contact. I'm not sure. But Dizzle's move on Dean was right around the outside of turn 1, which was an impressive move.
2.3 the gap. John Gooday in the wet stuff, back over to the dry patch, or the dry air patch, and all over the curb, but he bounces over the curb. The problem is for John Gooday is them tyres must be screaming at him. What happened, Dan?
Darren Bell runs wide, touches the grass, and then spins and takes Dizzle with him.
There we go. So 2.3 the gap, and John Gooday's car just looking a little looser on the rear now. Is that the tyres just maybe starting to go? I'm just noticing on his stream a few track limits, no time gained popping up, so that's possibly the car just running, maybe struggling for a bit of grip. Max is now within 1.4. He's nearly took a second out of him in the first sector. Max is coming here. Max is coming quick. Gomez is on the back of Borough Bextan. No, he's not. He's not now. He was within half a second. That's a bit more than half a second now. And he's now got Dennis on the rear of him. So what has happened to these three?
Who knows? As I think possibly S2 and Borobex. I don't know what tyres they're running. It's difficult to see. I know it's clear as day what Dennis is running, as is Gomez. But maybe S2 and Borobex has possibly put the slicks on himself and just struggling with them maybe. But meanwhile, John Gooday and Max Mulder now, this is the fight, as that's now come down to 1.5.
Max flashed him a moment ago coming onto the part of the oval. This is going to go down the start straight.
Oh no, there's a John Andrews spinning as they come down the main straight. Hopefully John Andrews stays where he is.
He's stationary. That's not allowed John Gooday to get to where he wants to be as early as possible. And across the line, it's 1.2, but it's this first sector where Max seems to take the chunk of time out of John Gooday then. And all race we've been... Oh, John, a little twitch here. Was that connection, or was that his car just having a moment? All race we've been waiting for it to say greasy with the 23 cars on track. I think if you'd have had a full 30-car grid, it would have. It will go greasy, I reckon, by the end. We are into showers now, so the rain has got lighter and is still decreasing. And this just works into Max's favour even more now that the rain's lighter, Dan.
It is indeed, and... it might be to the point that the wet tyres will just eventually just die, to the point that even maybe Tim might be having to look over his shoulder. I doubt it. He's got a comfortable lead at the minute, but Max has got to clear John first, and John's going to make his life difficult, right? Max is abusing curves now. This is how much confidence he has. And if I look on his stream as well, his brakes are green and his tyres are starting to turn a little bit more of a greener shade.
Yeah, what's the pressures looking like on the tyres for Max Mulder?
They're still sat at the 23, 22 pressures, so the pressures aren't coming up, but they're not green, but they're not blue anymore.
Unlike John's, who are screaming red on the left and orange on the right. And look at Max already now. Max just has more confidence in his McLaren than John has in the Aston Martin. And coming down the start straight, you have to feel that this is where Max might take his chance. This might be where John gets it. Max has dropped into the wet patches to try and get the slipstream from John there. I think that is the wrong decision from Max Mulder. John's gained a bit of time over Tim Ventink as well. I think Max shouldn't have followed John into the wet patch there. I think he should have stayed on that drier line. But Max still with that confidence to run the curbs through the first part of the lap. This is where he's so much stronger than John Gooday at the moment through this first part of the circuit, Dan. And yeah, it is imminent that you think that Max Mulder's going to try and tuck underneath. Can't do so. They're not close enough at the moment on John Gooday. And John's hanging on for his life. Has this just opened the door for Max Mulder on the inside? It has. And John has left it wide and has just maybe threw away a second place. Max Mulder has a moment mid-corner. That's put John out of shape. Now John comes back at Max up the inside. And this is just two cars. When Max goes offline, he has no grip. When John's online, he's got no grip. Max now goes through, and John Gooday may be better off just following Max Mulder through.
I do think Max was a little bit cheeky there. I do think he pushed John a little bit too wide. But I don't know if that's the slick just not wanting the grip in the wet stuff. He had to do something. And
Gomez has passed Borobex, Dan. Sorry. Gomez has passed Borobex, and it looks like that Dennis Hansen might try and come past him into turn one here. So Borobex has lost that P4. He's dropped to 5th place. And is Hansen going to have a look up the inside? Has what you said a moment ago. Borobex put the dry tyre on and it's not working for him.
Possibly so. Max just needs to just have the grip and confidence. He's disappeared now from John Gooday. He goes into the final corner and he's just disappeared. Max just nailed the strategy to get to second. What can he do about it? He's already done it. He's 10.4 between him and Tim Ventink. If Tim makes a mistake, Max is there to capitalise. DJ Phil is right in the middle of this little scrap of Dennis and Esteban Borobex. Esteban Borobex has dropped behind. Yes, he's
dropped behind Dennis and DJ Phil. I think he's just trying to unlap himself. Darren Bell has just been overtaken by Dizzle in this race. Where's Kieran Argent? He's way behind that battle, so his slick tyre strategy hasn't worked. And Max Mulder through the first sector was 10 points something off the back of Tim Ventink. What's the gap going to be now? This could be crucial to have a look at. It was 10.3 it was then. It's now 10 seconds, so he's gained 3/10 in that first sector.
It's not going to be enough.
It's not going to be enough. No, he's not going to win this race for sure. Tim Ventink is going to take 2 wins and a pole position. Going to take the Grand Slam because he was quickest in practice as well. What a day. What a day for Tim Ventink. What a day for the BSP Racing team.
Yeah, they're continuing on being strong once again. And John Gouday's got to be proud of his race too as well.
Hunt massively.
I think if it'd gone the same way as Max, I don't think we would be having this discussion. I think that the Aston would have been strong enough on the slicks.
And I think he'd have possibly challenged Tim for the win.
Possibly so. Both of these two might have hunted him down. And possibly giving him a bit of a headache as Max runs a little bit wide. So does John Gooday. But the problem that Max is going to suffer, he's going to suffer with oversteer. Well, John Gooday at the minute is suffering with understeer.
Yeah.
So the front end not wanting the front end sliding, or the rear end's just not gripping. And obviously for Max Mulder, the opposite way around. The rear end wanting to rotate too much, while the front end just can't handle it.
Question. DJ Phil is keeping up here with Dennis Hansen. DJ Phil is down in 17th place.
Dizzle, by the way, is now attacking Bruno.
I just want to point out, DJ Phil's just flashed Dennis there. Dennis is 5th, DJ Phil is 17th.
As well, looking at that, Dizzle has now passed Bruno, and it's up another position, more points for him. And DJ Phil on slicks.
That's what I was just thinking.
Being attacked by Dennis.
So Gomez is being attacked by Dennis. We've got Brian Craig who's attacking the back of
What is DJ Phil doing right now?
And DJ Phil, I think DJ Phil might be on the slick tyre because he just seems to have more grip and speed than these other two. Going back to the Burrow-Bex-Brian Craig fight, that's within a couple of tenths. Dizzle's got Dean, in fact Dean's passed Bruno Diaz. Bruno Diaz has got big damage on his car. He's got Darren Bell not a million miles away behind as well. And my God, there's back markers everywhere just getting in the way. What's happened, Dan?
DJ Phil, DJ Phil involved in this fight with Gomez and Dennis missing his brakes, goes straight on and nearly hits Gomez. But DJ Phil, I'm not sure why he's getting involved in this fight. He's nowhere near the car in front. Paul Williams is nowhere near him. And he's just ruined somebody else's fight as S2M Burrow-Bex is now under pressure from B. Craig.
He is under pressure from B. Craig. And there's Tim Venting looking in the background, about to lap the top six. That's how good a race he has had. Brian Craig, though, pulls up to the inside line into turn one, thinks better of it. What's that battle in the background? I believe that is Paul Williams in the background.
Being lapped.
That's being lapped by Max Mulder. So, yeah, DJ Phil's 5 seconds. DJ Phil's passed Gomez now.
I think Gomez is gone. Yeah, mate, you can go on ahead. You go. I don't want to be held up by you. But now, obviously, the problem is DJ Phil's going to be getting blue flags. And that Mustang will just out-drag the Lamborghini. No doubt about it. But
it's how much he's gaining in the corners, isn't it? That's the question. As Burrow-Bex still has Brian Craig right up the rear end. Gomez as well has got... In fact, look at DJ Phil's gap over Gomez, Dan. As we've just gone there to see the gap between Gomez and Hansen. DJ Phil's left him.
He has indeed, and I think he possibly has gone to the slicks as Dennis is trying to find a way through. But Tim Ventink is coming into the final sector, and I think, Dennis has just dropped it all on his own. Dennis is going to drop down. The auto goes past, goes S2M Burrow-Bex, as does Brian Craig, and
he's back on before Richie Michelle, so he's only lost out 2 places.
Senna nearly hits Richie Michelle though. So a lot of fights.
Gomez is off. Gomez is off. Gomez is slow. He's not off, he's slow. Is he out of fuel? 26 seconds to go. Tim Ventink's coming to the line. I think Gomez has just ran out of fuel, Dan. So Burrow-Bex is back up to 4th place. And Tim Ventink here, what is he going to do? Is he going to go an extra lap here? Gomez is stopped. I think Gomez is out of fuel. But here comes Tim Ventink. What is he going to do? He's going to start the last lap as Burrow-Bex and Brian Craig are given 1 more lap, maybe 2 more laps if Tim Ventink stays behind them. Craig's looking up the inside of Burrow-Bex, and B. Craig now goes into 4th place, and now Tim Ventink's attacking the back of Burrow-Bex, who's the lead car on the final lap. Doesn't need this battle with Burrow-Bex, and he passes Burrow-Bex to put a lap on him. Max is 6.6 seconds. I hope he's fueled for long enough. But Gomez has ran out of fuel, Dan, on the last lap.
Can't write it, can you? And Brian Craig is just trying to stay ahead of Tim Ventink to make sure he stays ahead of S2M Burrow-Bex, but Tim Ventink finally gets through. Brian Craig is now up into P4 after looking like a pretty dismal race for him. It's worked out pretty well. I think the wet tyre runners are just dead. The wet tyre runners have died out.
Max has pulled nearly a second this lap on Tim Ventink. They've only gone through the first sector. But for Gomez, he's dropping down the order. Dean's going to pass him. Darren's going to pass him, as will Bruno, as will Kieran. Oh, Gomez, you're out of fuel. DJ Phil got past Jacques Lund, by the way. So DJ Phil's flying. He was 5 seconds behind Jacques Lund. He's now on an off clear.
The slicks are the tyre to be on right now. But Tim Ventink is going to hang in there, for sure.
Yeah, he is. He's well ahead.
But only just. The rain hanged in there just long enough.
And he's going to have lapped up to 4th place. Tim Ventink, the rain hung in there long enough. You feel that if we'd have gone an extra half an hour, what would the situation have been? Max has got the gap down to 4.8, but it's going to be Tim Ventink who is going to cross the line. Fastest lap again and the race win. Max Mulder's right behind that of Burrow-Bex. John Gooday is going to get P3 because the others have finished a lap down, so he's guaranteed that. P4 goes the way of Brian Craig. P5 for Burrow-Bex. Dennis is going to come across the line for P6. We're then going to get to see Senna across the line. Not a bad day for Senna for P7.
John Gooday for P3 crossing the line, as Dizzle is then the next one to cross the line, I think. No, we got the 31 of the Cranky Duckhead coming home in 22nd place position. And it is then Dizzle at 9th place. I mean, it could have gone a lot worse. So as damage limitations, it's probably going to be his drop score now. So he needs to go fresh and recovered for Paul Ricard, and hopefully the BMW will be stronger there. As just in the background, you have Justin Winters coming up behind to complete his race, and it's Mark Tucker who's going to finish in 10th place position. With Dean, quite a solid race for Dean.
Good
11th
race.
place for him. Yep, as Darren Bell crosses the line. Bell
Dean's 12th.
And Bruno.
No, Darren Bell's still... I can't press on Darren Bell.
That's weird.
We've just lost Darren Bell. So we'll have to wait till the very end of this race before we can input the rest of the results. And we don't know where Dean has quite finished. Justin Winters there. Mirko Ricci finishes 18th place. Diego Flores will be 19th place. Darren Bell crosses the line. P16, so he was actually a lap down. So DJ Phil is 14th. Darren Bell was actually a lap down in that list, so he's 16th place. After that then is going to be Dean in 12th. Then it will be Kieran Argent. He got 13th. Gomez, after running out of fuel, finishes 20th. From 4th to 20th. Bruno Diaz got 11th in that race. And Lund gets 15th place. Dan, seeing as all the top 3 drivers was PlayStation, let's try and... Max, you can probably hear us. Try and invite Tim in for an interview if he wants one. John will be able to join us as well in this party chat, seeing that everybody was PlayStation. We don't need to go into the Discord call. Dan, I'll let you do the interviews while I work out drop scores and the points.
Well, hopefully we'll get John Goudet in a few moments' time, but we will start with the top 2 and your 2 teammates. We'll start with Max Mulder. And Max, a pretty interesting race ahead of yourselves. Obviously, the pro guys had this last season running at Silverstone with the weird damp conditions. And how were the slicks towards the end there? Because you look by far the quickest car on track. And do you think, could you have got Tim if you probably cleared, if you hadn't had many more mistakes?
I needed 10 minutes more and I got there. But like I also got taken out by someone that cost me like 3 seconds. So it would have been close if I got a clean race. So yeah.
So once obviously the track started to dry out, obviously the track started to come to the so it was quite on the cusp on it. It was either going to be slick or it's going to be wet. You got to the slick tires. How were the slicks towards the end there? Did they really start coming alive?
They were very cold. There was not much grip. I think at the end the slicks were a little bit fast with like 7 minutes to go, but before that it was just sliding.
Obviously, didn't seem like you had the overall pace on your teammate tonight, but nonetheless, obviously your team scores points. You're going to leave here with a decent points gap. Dizzle having a pretty poor night. We head to Paul Ricard next, a track that probably will suit the McLaren a lot. How do you think about Paul Ricard coming up next?
I don't like the track, but I hope I can beat my teammate there.
He's looking over your shoulder now at the teammate. So obviously Dizzle hopefully will come back, and it's not just obviously Dizzle you got to keep an eye on, as your teammate, and possibly John Goudet as well making a resurgence. So best of luck for Paul Ricard, and we'll see you in a week's time.
Thank you.
And we'll move over to Max Mulder's teammate. And Tim, just seems to be in your stride at the minute. Cota's feature race was a complete and utter disaster for everyone, but nonetheless, you took the sprint at Cota, you come to Indianapolis, you pretty much grand slam it, pretty much top of the tables all the way through. American circuits are good to you, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, the pace is really good. I've been playing the game quite a lot compared to any other game. Yeah, the Ferrari just really suits my driving style.
Obviously, tonight, you probably came into this thinking, was there going to be rain, was there not going to be rain? Coming into it, like I said, you just had the pace straight away. Was there any point that you thought Max might have got you at the end when he's in the slicks? I guess, obviously, both you were in the party chat together, discussing it. What was the mindset? Just stick with wets and go from there?
Yeah, I really didn't want to take the risk, to take the tries. Um, but the weights really started to heat up a lot more than the whole race. I was like on 33 psi, I think, on almost all four tires. So yeah, the ending really wasn't funny, but I mean, I still got the win. So
You do get the win, and that was a very dominant race weekend here at Indianapolis. We leave the American circuits, we head to France. We go to Paul Ricard for the next race of the season. What are your opinions on Paul Ricard, and do you think the Ferrari will be quite good around there?
I feel like the Ferrari could be very good around there, but yeah, my pace, I can't say anything about it because I haven't really done the track on this game yet.
Obviously, a Formula One, Formula One driver yourself, so you probably have good knowledge of it.
Yeah, I know the track very well, very well.
Just get you. There's a slight difference when you turn up to this version.
Yeah,
So,
I think I remember but yeah, I really have to look out.
well, nonetheless, mate, congratulations on a very dominant night, and we'll see you in a week's time at France.
See you next week.
See you later. And we get the third place man, John Goudet. And John, you're asking a lot of advice from myself to cool the front left tyre down.
Oh,
And then the rain turns up.
yeah. It didn't really work though, to be fair. I was still getting overheated tyres. Yeah, it was a struggle this race.
It was a struggle. Race 1 didn't go to plan, but race 2 was a lot better.
Yeah, race 1 was kind of a bit of mix and match. I had a collision with someone. I thought I'd do the sportsmanship and pull over, but obviously that put me right to the back of the pack. So I was like, right, from here, get my head down, try and claw a few places back. I already knew Max and Tim were both quick. So I was like, right, get my head down, capture them. I had my spotter turning around going, Max and Tim are moving up the order quite quick, which I already knew they were going to do anyway. But yeah, it was a uphill struggle in race 1, and then went into the pits to do the pit and forgot to put the fuel in. So I was like, yeah, that's race 1 done. Yeah, race 2, put myself on P2, and straight away it was like tyres were ballooning. I was like, what's going on here? I can't understand this. I've done everything, obviously advice from yourself I took on board, changed. They were just still ballooning. I was like, yeah, something's not going on here. So it's literally, I don't know if you see on the stream, I was going onto the wet line to try and cool them down, and coming back on, and then trying to look on the gap behind with Max. Obviously seeing him close up the gap, and it was just trying to maintain the speed.
Welcome to the damp conditions. This is what we struggled with at Silverstone.
Yeah,
it's
honestly,
horrible.
Mate.
Obviously, with the way the Aston Martin works, front engined, suffers with understeer quite a bit with that. Was there any point that you genuinely thought about the dry tyres?
I was thinking it. I was actually speaking to Dean. Obviously, Dean's in the party as well. I was speaking with Clouden. I was like, look, the track feels decent. I was still picking the times of what I was doing, so I weren't like I was dropping times. But I was thinking, do I jump to the dries? So I was asking the guys, and Dean was like, oh, no, the track don't feel that great. Which, to be fair, I was thinking, do I take that jump? And I just thought, no, I'll stay on wets and then try and maintain it. I take it, Max Mulder went on to dries, yeah?
He was on slicks, yes.
Yeah, so there we go. That's the reason why I pulled up. So I made the wrong choice at the end of the day. At the end of the day, it's racing, and you take that gamble.
It is.
You've done the same on Spa last season, and it kind of backfired. I've done it this time, kind of backfired. But yeah, it is what it is. I've got a podium, that's all that counts.
was going to say, not to the extreme that I suffered with.
No, it was nowhere near to the extreme that you suffered with, so...
No. Obviously, we leave Indianapolis. It seemed like the American circuits seem to do you a little bit of justice. We moved to France for Paul Ricard. The Aston Martin can abuse curbs,
Yeah.
and it's fairly decent in a straight line. How do you think you're going to get out of Paul Ricard?
So I've run a few tests around Paul Ricard, and yourself, you know, like obviously I was running AMG last season, so I've been comparing both of them. I'm fairly quite decent with the AMG. Everyone knows that. Everyone see it last season. I've run a few laps around with the Aston, and it feels nice. It does feel good. So I'm quite optimistic with. I should now, looking at the tracks. I've looked at all the tracks now for the second part of the season, and I think a lot of these tracks will suit the Aston. To be fair, I mean the American tracks. You know yourself. I've said it to you. I don't feel confident with these American tracks, but the car has felt great. The car has definitely carried me around these tracks, with not being confident around them. So yeah, going into Paul Ricard, I always like Paul Ricard anyway. It's like a bit of a Kyle Army track for me. It's got the same sort of feel, so I'm hoping now I can try and push, obviously, top end of the table now, which is what I should be doing anyway. So, yeah, we'll just see. We'll see.
Well, nonetheless, John, it's been a fantastic nice race season for you, and we'll see you in a week's time in France.
Yeah, well done to Tim and Max as well. They drove a fantastic race as well, so hats off to them.
As that's pretty much wrapped that up, and I'm not sure where Matt's gone.
No, I'm here. It doesn't look like the driver of the day poll's working. It won't let me put one out, so we've not been able to get a driver of the day poll out there. The championship orders look like this, and it's 1.5 points. Max Mulder leads from Dizzle in this championship after the current drop scores. Don't forget these results are provisional results. This will wait until the stewarding has been decided over the weekend. So keep your eyes out on social media, Facebook and Instagram, to keep your eyes out on all the championship standings going up. Richie Michelle is now up to P3, with John Gooday dropping down to P4. Esteban Burrabex is 5th, with Tim Ventink P6. 68 points separate the top 6, so with 113 in a weekend, it could go anybody's way. Sam is P7 with Justin Winter P8. Brian Craig is P9, fat bloke, down to the 10th position. Robert Smith is P11 from Paul Williams. Mirko Rich is P13 ahead of Kieran Argent. Naval Gomez then is P15 with Dean in 16th place. Diego Flores from Cranky Duckhead, Bruno Diaz and Mark Tucker rounding out the top 20. Darren Bell from Micro J's with DJ Phil up to 23rd ahead of Graham. Hansen from Herwijge. Again, apologies if we butchered your pronunciation. That is Senna. John Andrews from Dean Wasocki. Michael from Lund. Andrew Taylor, the Jackal. Nuke Waste, P. Raiden. Oliver, MB Pitts and Romeo. Constructors Championship, 79.5 points is the gap, and it's BSP Racing who are leading that way. Richie Corsa P3 from Stage 2 Motorsport. Team FBR are P5 with Team Merlo P6. FSO Junior Racing Team P7 with Forever Forward Independent P8. Greasy Bandits P9 and Vorta Racing P10. Dan, driver of the day, final thoughts from yourself?
Driver of the day, I'm going to have to go the way of Tim. He's been phenomenal tonight and really been immaculate this evening. Indianapolis has already caused a little bit of chaos here for the Pro-Ams, and I'm excited to race it tomorrow in the pros. I've always enjoyed Indianapolis. It should be interesting. I hope we don't have this horrible weather, but from what I've been told, we're meant to have it worse. So whatever. I'm looking forward to now Paul Ricard and see what the Pro-Ams can do around there and get to the halfway stage of the season. It's very much still on for the top spots. And yourself, a driver of the day?
Yeah, I'm giving it to Tim. Hard to look past anybody else, isn't it? 2 Grand Slams this season. Yourself at Snetterton and Tim Ventic now this week at Indianapolis. But like Dan says, we move to Indianapolis tomorrow night to be myself, PM Motorsport, and possibly a newbie in the commentary box to have a bit of a learn for the back end of the season. Joining us for all the action at Indianapolis tomorrow, for all that one, can Dan keep hold of his championship lead and extend it that little bit more? What will happen in what looks to be even trickier conditions tomorrow night? That is going to be the interesting thing. Join me and Dan back live next week for Paul Ricard. We head back across the Atlantic and the English Channel to go over to France for Paul Ricard. Should be an absolute fantastic race there. Last time he was there, it was flooded. Tomorrow night at Indy, it could be flooded. Who knows what will happen? Obviously, me and Dan will be back in the box. If you like what you see here, hit that bell to be notified. The thumbs up as well. Subscribe to the channel. If you are new, we're fast approaching 700 subscribers, so it really does mean a lot for you guys to hit that subscribe button. But we'll see you next time. Good night.
Good night.